Sir, just a second, wait. Nirav sir, good morning. You are presenter. You will be able to present. Even Bimla madam also are a presenter.
Yeah, good morning. Yes, I am able to share my screen. I will do that.
Divya, make them presenter.
It is already done, sir.
Yeah, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes, sir.
So, while we wait for some of the other students to join, I just would like to understand how familiar the students are with what we do. So, let's try and make this interactive. I know we would love to be there offline and interact with you personally, but we'll just make best of what we have. So all of you have reactions, right? So I'm going to ask a few questions, and if you can show me some reactions, I'll know how familiar everybody is with what we do. So first question is, how many of you are familiar with stock markets? Yeah, I'm seeing reactions there. That's good. Uh, that's great. How many of you are familiar with hedge funds? Okay, so that's a smaller set. How many of you are familiar with data science? Okay, excellent. So several members of the students are familiar with data science, with stock markets, not much with hedge funds. So I know I need to cover that area. Um, okay, let's move forward. Can I start with the presentation?
Yes, sir. You can start.
Okay, great. So again, let's continue the reactions. Let me again understand a little bit more with. So I'm going to give a little bit introduction about what we are, what Versor does, and the most important, that why each one of you should think about joining Versor. Who's familiar with this? Some more reactions. If anybody knows what does this represent, you can type it. Yep, several people are. So that's a good sign. That's a good sign. Yep, it's a movie, Wolf of Wall Street. Yep, Kunjesh, you're right. Anyone knows this one? Does anybody know? I guess not many people know this one. Okay, Enel got it right. Yep, you're right. What about this one? Yeah, I think this one most people know. Okay, just breaking the ice. We are nothing like this. Um, what does Versor do, right? Versor is uh, we are a systematic investment firm. What that means is that everything that we do is run by algorithms, right? So the day-to-day decisions that happen on trading, the day-to-day decisions that happen on execution, everything is done by computers. Why does that? Why is that good? One, computers are better in humans in certain way. One, they are more disciplined. The human behavioral aspect doesn't come in. If the markets fall, they don't panic. If the markets rise, they don't get overconfident, right? So the humans focus on building the algorithms. It's the algorithms that trade. What does that do? That helps us come up with better predictions because we use a lot of data science, a lot of statistics. It also helps in automation in what we do, right? So Versor Investments is a systematic investment firm, right? If you go on our website, if you go on our website, uh, you know, you will the first line you will see is it's a quantitative investment boutique where data, innovation, and market expertise drive every decision, right? In a very short way, from your perspective, right? What we do is we combine a lot of data and data science with a lot of programming and then apply it in the field of finance. That's what we do at the very high level. A little bit about the history. The Versor Investments was started in 2014. We are today 60 people. We manage AUM of about $3.4 billion, right? That's around 25,000 crores. That's bigger than several mutual fund firms in India. We don't do currently we don't do anything in India, which is why you may not have heard about us. We focus more on the international markets. Uh, uh, do is data driven, systematic approach, a lot of automation, a lot of programming. Um, we do differentiate ourselves from the competition in this field using technology. We've spent a lot of time and effort on building systems. Alignment of interest, we are completely owned by the people working in the firm, right? So a large part of the people working in the firm today own the company. We don't have any, we are fully profitable. So we're not a startup firm. We are not dependent on any kind of funding. Our profits, or rather our revenues are more than our costs. So we do make profits. Uh, and it's an experienced investment team. The team has been doing this since a long time. The average experience on the investment side of the senior investment committee is 28 years, but average age is less than 30, right? So it's still, we are a young team, but there is a lot of investment experience also, right? So right balance on both the sides. Uh, Somebody is messaging that they can't hear me. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. If you look at this, Versor trades all over the world. So the dark blue is the equity markets that we trade. So we trade markets right from US, Canada, UK, Japan, Australia. We trade futures markets all over the world. We trade, within futures, we trade things across, we trade commodities like oil, natural gas, sugar, wheat, soy. We trade currency markets, developed currency markets, emerging currency markets. So literally, if you look at the coverage, we are doing 24-hour trading. Typically um, the Asia team, sort of the Asian markets start at 4:30 a.m. India time. The Canadian markets and the US markets end at about 1:30 a.m. India time. So literally, there is global coverage, right? And we do this with two teams based out of New York and Mumbai. We are a very flat structure, so this is a very front end. A lot of the research happens in India, in Mumbai. This is not a back office setup. It's a very front office setup with two offices. If you go on LinkedIn, you may not see 60 people there. That's again a marketing strategy. And when we're doing interviews, please ask us about it. We will tell you. But it's more of a marketing strategy where if you go on LinkedIn, you will see the firm size to be smaller. But in reality, as of today, we are 63 people, in fact. So some of the things I mentioned, right? We trade global stock markets across all the different continents. We do long and short, right? So a difference from what you may know in the regular is that we are able to buy things, but in case of us, we actually also sell, sell stocks or sell commodities or sell currencies. We do both, right? And all of this is done by algorithms, right? So the algorithms, depending on the constant data that they are getting, will decide what needs to be done all over the world, and they will trade on the same, right? We are not a high frequency trading. If some of you are familiar with high frequency firms, they try to trade, milliseconds and nanoseconds and try to make literally a few paise out of each transaction. We are not that. When we trade, we actually hold for over a period of few days to a few weeks. You would see there are certain strategies that we have mentioned here. I would say just keep a note of these. Please keep a note of these. These are the words you should Google to understand more about the field, right? So definitely Google more about hedge funds, what they are, what do they do. It's extremely interesting. They're very cutting edge. We are a hedge fund. And also Google these strategies to understand what are the kind of products we provide, right? When I say strategies, in a layman term, right? Suppose you want to invest today in the Indian stock market, right? You can go and buy a mutual fund. So say you go and buy an HDFC top 200 mutual fund or an HDFC large cap fund, right? So that's a product, and it will go and invest in large cap companies. So similar to that, the strategies that are mentioned here, global macro, trend following, equity market neutral, statistical arbitrage, merger arbitrage, these are products, these are strategies which client come to us. They come to us to invest in these products. And I will spend a little bit time on that explaining what it is, but I would strongly encourage you to Google them because they are very, very interesting. So I'll go a little bit, but please do note these terms so that you can read about them later. For the year 2021, Versor Investments won the best US quant equity hedge fund award for our merger arbitrage strategy. So literally it was given the best fund award in the US. Again, these are the different strategies we provide. Let me just give a little very high level view of our strategies and how algorithms trade. Just to give you a little bit of background, right? So there's a strategy called trend following. Trend following essentially means that something that is doing well will continue to do well. So you can go buy it because you expect it to continue doing well. And something that is doing bad will continue to do bad. So you can actually short it, and as it keeps falling, you will make money. So that's a very simple logic. Now, Once you come up with this logic, right, you can actually apply it all over the world. So you can apply it in the Indian markets. You can apply it in Asian markets. You can apply it on commodities. So commodities which are doing well will continue to do well. Commodities which are doing bad will continue to do bad. So you can do that. You can also uh, apply it on currencies. So the point I'm trying to make is that once you program into the algorithm how to identify a trend, you can actually then your algorithm can go and trade all world markets, all asset classes, and then take decisions accordingly. Right? Now, why does trend following work? Trend following works because of a very simple reason: human behavior. Right? When we human behavior is always that when something is going good, we think it's gonna go on for life. It's gonna keep on getting better, and we overbuy something. Stock markets go overboard. We think crypto is gonna go to $200,000, right? All of that. So we think things are gonna go good, and that's why there is always an overreaction on the way up. Similarly, when things are bad, we think again there is an overreaction. We think now the world is coming to an end, everything is gonna keep crashing. So both what happens is because of human behavior, there is overbuying on the long side and there is overselling when things are bad. And what trend following does is it actually just takes advantage of this. So when things are going up, it keeps buying. When things are falling, it keeps selling, right? And the difficult part is how do you define or how do you identify the trend? How do you know that something is going down, it will not turn, or something is going up, it will not turn, right? So that is where our expertise comes in. But essentially, that's a very simple logic, and that's it works, right? And this strategy, so for example, in this particular strategy, we are up almost 30% this year, right? So this strategy does well even when markets are not doing bad. Other markets are doing bad, right? So which is why clients come to us and say, look, we want to put money in the trend following strategy because when the markets fall, this strategy will do well, right? So Google all the other strategies also, merger arbitrage, global macro. These are extremely interesting strategies. And it will just sort of help you understand why what Versor does is very unique, very cutting edge, and why clients would come to us. So I touched this upon, right? We are a systematic investment firm. There are two positions, right, that we've sort of offered to the students, right? One is on the data engineer, another is a software engineer, and the role. So why are we, if we are a finance firm and we are trading in the markets, then why are we, coming to an engineering college, right? The reason being that the expertise that we need is more on programming, data science, engineering, less on finance. Actually, finance is something that we know very well. We can teach you. We want the best people who can work on the other areas, right? And we will help you merge your skills. We will help you apply your background in software engineering, your background in data engineering, and use it in the field of finance. We work with large amounts of unique data sets. We literally have millions of unique data sets, and we are constantly analyzing these to find trading ideas, right? And over here, I've just highlighted one example for you to understand that how what we do is very different. And actually, we are not aware of anybody doing it, doing these kind of things in India, let alone Asia. It's so unique, right? So for example, we look at social media feeds, and based on that, we say, okay, based on the social media, is there a positive sentiment or a negative sentiment on a particular stock? And then based on that, you buy or sell, right? So if there's a positive social media sentiment or news articles, so we use a lot of NLP to look at news articles, right? And then based on that, identify whether there's a positive sentiment or a negative sentiment for a stock. We look at credit card data. So for example, uh, today people are spending a lot of money online. Right? Let's take Netflix as an example. Right? When anybody subscribes to Netflix, you're paying through your credit card, right? So we get that data. So using that, we know real time whether Netflix subscriptions are increasing or reducing. And then based on that, we can come up with a signal that can predict the impact on the stock price. right? So that is very different from what most people do. I mentioned earnings call transcript, right? So there's an example here, call transcript, right? So what does earnings call transcript mean, right? Every quarter, the management of any company comes on a call and tells how the company is doing, right? So we get transcript of that, and based on what the management is doing, we understand whether the management sentiment is positive or negative. And when I say we, it is our algorithms, right? Not humans are not reading those; the algorithms are reading, and based on that, they decide whether the company is in a positive mode or negative mode and sell it. Right? So we have hundreds of such signals, which we combine to take a call on one stock. Right? So here it's an example on the earnings call. So an earnings call, let's just look at the bottom right. So IBM earnings call, this is a transcript, and IBM says, we are working to launch new property leasing services, right? So that's a positive. They're coming up with new products. They also say transaction revenue was down, which is sort of a negative. And then they say, the quarter was as expected, right? So we take all of this data, we translate it into a signal, which sort of tells us, okay, on an average, is it positive, negative, neutral? And over here, if you see, we have a similar signal for Amazon. The blue line is the signal and the orange is the stock price. So if you see, the orange is following the blue line, right? So what this tells us is, yes, there is some predictive power in that signal. That signal is able to predict some, to an extent, the impact of on the stock price, right? So if the signal falls, you see after a few days, the stock price fell, right? So it's sort of the stock price is following the signal, right? Now it's not always so clean, and that is where a lot of statistics and data science applies. But it is very interesting. It is very unique, and there is a lot of alternate data sets that we work with. If you have any questions at any point in time, yes, in the end we will have a question answer session. But please feel to type them also. If I see them, I will respond to them while I'm talking about the slide. So this is sort of a systematic investment toolkit. What this tells is, yes, we are using algorithms, but the algorithms underlying it use a lot of statistics. And there are very lot of complex problems that we work on, right? So the first is the forecasting problem, right? That if you have any data set, you create some signal out of it. Can that signal actually correctly forecast the price of the stock or commodity or currency? So there's a forecasting problem that we are always looking at. There is a data analysis problem, right? So there is constantly new data coming in. Phones are being used all the time. We are looking at so we're looking at GPS data to see, okay, the number of people in any store, is it increasing, reducing? A lot of all kinds of international data sets being available today. So there is a data analysis problem. There is a Python problem because to analyze all of this data, you need to code it effectively. There is an optimization problem, right? Because if you are trading all over the world, if you are trading thousands of stocks, if you're trading currencies, commodities, equities, how much money should be given to each? How much risk should be managed? There are a lot of complex practical problems that come in. So, so that gets analyzed. And then you are actually applying it all in the field of finance, which is constantly interesting. There are always things happening, right? Russia would attack Ukraine, or Donald Trump is suddenly president, or there is Brexit. All kind of attractive things happening, which which are always unpredictable, and so it's very interesting. It's an interesting problem to have because you need your models to be able to adapt to what's happening in the world. I'm going to just quickly go on this. This is very specific on the forecasting problem. Again, what I'm trying to show here is the kind of problems are extremely interesting, right? On the left, when you see there is a problem where, say, there is consumer data, right? So Amazon, for example, uses machine learning to suggest you things to buy, right? And what it does is it uses what you have used, what you have bought online for the last, say, 1 year, 2 year, whatever data it has. And based on that, it is actually now suggesting you should buy this. In a problem like that, the data set, the blue color is the quality of the data. That is very narrow. What that means is the data is very high quality because you have actually bought it. So Amazon exactly knows what you bought, and then it is suggesting you based on that, or it knows exactly what are your characteristics, and it knows other people with your characteristics living in your area at your age group, probably studying in your same school, and it is telling you what to buy. So the quality of data is very nice. In stock markets, if you see the blue is all over the place, it's because the quality of data is not so perfect. You don't know what is really causing prices to go up or go down, right? So the prediction problems are again most complicated, right? What I'm trying to again show here is that the kind of problems are challenging, but also that it is very difficult for Versor to get competitors. There are very few firms in the world doing what Versor does. And the reason being it's extremely challenging and complicated to do this and then to make consistent money out of it. On our website, there is a section called Athenium. You can actually go there and read a lot of our research papers. So one of the things that Versor does, and if you look in the first slide also, I had said innovative research, right? Research, coming up with ideas is a very critical thing. We are constantly doing research. Our largest teams are all research teams, right? And it doesn't matter if you are if your background is in statistics or physics or astronomy, as a lot of our researchers are, or computer science, which is again a lot of our researchers, you, in your area of expertise, you have to come up with new things. That's the culture of the firm, and we keep on doing that consistently. So why join Versor, right? So let me first talk about the two roles, and then I'll talk a little bit about that. So one, it's the data engineer role, right? So I mentioned we use a lot of data. That's only increasing. The amount, the complexity of data is only increasing. So as a data engineer, you are involved in building the architecture, building the data pipelines to process that data, to transform it, to do data quality, to build tools to use that data. We use tools like Amazon, AWS SageMaker for machine learning. So, integrating these tools with our data sets is again that. And then, using tools like, so some of our research pipeline involves using Kafka for streaming data, using Tableau for data display and more, right? So just working on these projects and taking them forward is again part of this role. Software engineer, again, building, I mentioned we trade all over the world. We trade all kind of asset classes. All of this is done using algorithms with just a 60 people team, right? That we are very lean for the amount of, amount of trading that we do. And that is all possible by a very high level of automation, right? So building the automated technology stack, building systems to simulate data. So, what we do is when we come up with an idea, we take that idea, we apply it for the last 30 years and say, does it work? Then we also apply it on currencies, on bonds, on equities, on commodities. Does it apply on everywhere? We then apply it on different countries. So we apply it on Japan, Australia, UK. And only when, the idea is working across all of these aspects, then we say, yes, this is a robust idea. Right? Otherwise, when you're working with so much data, it is very easy to do data mining and, data fitting, right? So how do you make sure that you're not fitting the data, right? So we do that. So there's a very complex backtesting infrastructure that has been built, right? So building that for new assets, new regions, that's constantly an aspect of this role. Again, ability to build systems to trade globally, to analyze your trading, to provide clients with analysis, all of that becomes part of this role. right? So why, in summary, cutting edge research into investing. As I mentioned earlier, there are not many people who do that globally. There would be, 5 to 10 firms who would be doing what we do, right? Across all the strategies that we are, right? Yes, there may be only trend following firm or only merger arbitrage, but very few multi-strategy firms. Uh, Access to large amounts of interesting alternate financial data, a lot of computing resources for research, a differentiated approach. We have a deep experienced team of researchers. We have spent 200 plus human work years to build that infrastructure. So that makes it difficult for new competitors to come in. It gives us a moat where it's not easy to replicate what we have done. Entrepreneurial culture. I mentioned again. We are owned by the people working in the firm. That's the culture. If you wanna be in that environment of okay, let's get things done. Let's work on challenging problems. Let's apply it in a very interesting domain. That's what it is. And attractive compensation package with strong emphasis on meritocracy. Uh, you know, Again, look, it's when you Google hedge funds, when you Google the financial markets, the more time you spend, the more familiar you become. The rewards keep increasing, right? And that's what it is. That's what it is, right? On the right, it's the figure you had seen earlier. Everything that we do, again, I repeat, is a combination of data science, programming, and applying it in the field of finance, which makes it ideal for individuals like yourselves to make a career in. That's it from my side. Any questions?
Those who have question, you can write in chat box. Otherwise, you can raise your hand, unmute, and you can ask the question. Kunal and Krutal.
Yes, sir. Morning. Hello.
Yeah.
Good morning, sir. So, sir, my question is most of the AMCs in India are now going for this quant fund and everything. That is machine learning based everything. They are making a model and then they are predicting in which script to invest, and after that they are grouping. So, these asset management companies and our company, that is Versor, what is the difference between you and those guys? What is the difference?
Very true, very true, right? I think the first difference is we are global. So we trade all over the world versus a lot of the India-based firms are uh, investing just in the Indian markets. So I think the first big difference is global. Second, the current AMCs, for them, asset management, quant investing is one more thing, right? So it is okay, one manager, 2, 3 people sitting on it. It's not a full-time focus. For us, it is full-time focus. The entire firm is only focused on quant investing, right?
Okay. Yes.
And I think the third point that I will say is I had mentioned research papers, right? So Deepak and Ludgar, and you can Google them. They have been doing research in quant investing uh, since, if you look at the papers, it's early 1990s. So we've been doing it since a long time. So there is 20, 30 years of actually, global investment experience, doing it at Versor for the last 8 years, and then doing it globally prior to Versor in our earlier firms since last 30 years now, right? So there is a lot of
Different. Yes. Yes.
experience,
It's
right,
quite
that differentiates us.
right now. Yes, sir. Got you.
So there is a question on what would be the selection process. The positions that we have are for internship plus full time. So it's the uh, combined thing. So there will be. So we are expecting you to be very good in your field of engineering. We are not expecting you to know finance. In your field, we are expecting you to be good. So there will be an aptitude test. So we will shortlist candidates they will be going through an aptitude test, after which there would be two technical interviews and one non-technical interview. So there'll be three interviews. Right? We expect to select 2 to 3 students in each of the 2 positions that we have. So Henil, that's a very interesting question, right? What is the average CAGR of our strategies? So one of the thing about investing is that there is nothing that works all the time, right? So all strategies are cyclical, so they all have good phases and bad phases, and they keep on rotating out of that. And what is always important is what is the outlook going forward, right? So even if so within the current set of strategies I had mentioned earlier, trend following, that's up about 30%. You see Versor value dislocation, that essentially says, value firms will do better than growth or tech firms, which is what we are seeing this year. So that value dislocation fund is up about 16-17% this year. The get directional again is up 8-10% this year. Uh, Merger arbitrage is flat. Global macro is flat, right? On an average, each of these, on an average, our strategies return about 8 to 10%. That's the sort of the average return that you can expect. But these are cyclical, so they'll have good years and bad years. Our clients understand that what is the environment and what will do well, and then they invest with us accordingly. So, for example, in the current environment, trend following is good. Versal value is good. Merger arbitrage we are expecting to be good. So so the clients come in and go based on what they think is a good environment for a strategy. What are the technical languages company focuses on? So we use Python. That's the core language for all the analytics. Within Python, we use pandas a lot. And then a lot of these systems are built on .NET. I think those are the two sort of the core languages we use in terms of databases. We use SQL. We use uh, 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 we use some of the big data, big data databases. We use, uh, I think from a technical perspective, those are sort of the core languages that we have. Interesting question by Raj. No, so because, so are we allowed to have a personal demat account and trade actively? No, because we trade for clients. All Versor employees, we are not allowed to trade actively, right? We can invest in mutual funds where there is some fund manager taking an investment decision, but we are not allowed to trade, right? If you, before joining us, if you have existing stocks and all, you don't need to sell them, you can keep them, but you cannot actively trade. Yeah, Dhruvi, very good question again, right? So, is there a case where you have a wrong investment? How did you and the company handle it? Is there a role of a data engineer in that? Yes. Look, I can tell you on an average, we are correct. We try to be correct. I'm not even going to say we are. We try to be correct more than 50% of the time. But good strategies and signals have a hit ratio of about 50-55%. So yes, there are a lot of times we are wrong, but we try to be correct more than 50% of the time, right? And I think the challenging part where we use a lot of our machine learning is that when you are correct, you want that to be your big bet. Uh, uh, so there have been many cases, right? So I think there are different learnings. First learning is let the algorithms do what they are doing. One of the examples I would say is so normally algorithms trade and we don't touch them, and that's the big learning. Don't touch your algorithms, right? When you have tested them, you're confident, let them go, right? But sometimes the investment committee stops in and says, no, look, we need to override the algorithm because there are certain things that have happened new, right? So for example, uh, and there has been both good and bad. So I'll give two examples, one good, one bad, right? So early this year, our algorithms were buying Russia, and as soon as the talk of war started happening, our investment committee took a call and said, no, let's just sell all Russia. Let's not have anything in Russia. And that turned out to be good because as soon as the war happened, anything that was Russian fell drastically, right? And we were just out. So that's the time when it worked, right? Last year, there were a couple of cannabis companies which has now become legal in several states in US in our portfolio. The investment committee took a call and said, look, this cannabis is very, some of it is legal, some of it is illegal, and we don't want to have that in the portfolio. And we decided to get out of a few positions, which if we had kept on would have made us a lot of money, right? So I think, yes, there have always been cases when investments are wrong. There have also been cases when signals are wrong. So these were examples when the investment committee took. There are cases when the signals are wrong. For example, if you are familiar with what is going on in the world over the last 10 years, all the central banks artificially kept interest rates very low, right? So the interest rate in Europe was negative. So you actually had to pay money if you kept your money in the bank. Or US was very close to zero, right? So people have 30-year loans at 2%. So the models could not. So this was artificially kept low. The model said this is not sustainable. But the model, so the models kept on saying this is not sustainable. They would take positions. So again, examples where yes, the models could be wrong because of what is going on. The important aspect is that your risk has to be controlled, and we don't lose more money than what we can afford. Is the fund open for general public? Minimum requirements as an employee, would we be able to invest? So the fund is not open. We are currently for institutions, and so the minimum requirement that we have for global institutions is $10 million. So that's sort of the minimum, and then we take $1 million. So again, it's not for individuals, it is for institutions, right? Pension plans, insurance companies, sovereign wealth funds, large institutions who have like billions of dollars. Would an employee be able to invest? Not at the moment, but we are working on that. Not at the moment though. We do not have industrial experience in data engineering, would have kind of data science and ML field. We would want to get into data engineer career. Is it possible to buy self-training? Yeah. So look, we have something called as a Versor Academy, where a lot of the courses are updated. So a lot of the training modules are uploaded. So you can always go to Versor Academy, and there's a topic that you find interesting. You can go through a course about that. In addition to that, we have licenses available for the team on DataCamp, Coursera. So they can go and do any course that they want. So that is there. Duration of the training, again, so the training, so there is a 6-month internship and then there is a full-time. So there is a stipend. I think the internship stipend is 35,000 rupees per month. And and then the full-time thing, I think the packages have been provided to the team. Is there a service agreement for employees? I do not understand what that question means. Service agreement. So one thing I will tell you, do not consider us. Do not consider us if you have a horizon of less than 2 years, because it is very complex. It will take you 2 years to understand every aspect of this, right? So if you are planning to go for a master's, or if you're planning to go for something within the next 2 years, I would very strongly recommend do not consider us, because it will not help you. It will not help us also. If you're ready to commit 2 years, I can guarantee the kind of work doesn't get more interesting. I can guarantee the environment and the experience that you will get will add, there's no comparison, right? But you have to give time to it, right? So there is, we do, so in the same line, we do request the team to commit us 18 months, right? So there is a commitment there of 18 months that we request the team to do. Algorithm comparable to Jim Simons? Yes. So that's Renaissance technology, also called as Rentech. Yes, we do a lot of those things. Again, Rentech was started in 1980. So yes, they have 40 years of doing it. We started in 2014. We've been doing it in that. But yes, we head to head. Whatever we do is comparable. Rentech is one of our competitors. The technical rounds would be, yes, common data structures and algorithms. It would also be less of data science. Again, we are not looking at anything that is not covered in your curriculum. We are looking, whatever has been taught to you, you should be very good at it. That's the only requirement that we have, right? So we will test you on SQL, we'll test you on database concepts, we will test you on object-oriented programming concepts, right? So even though it's a data engineer role, it's not. There will be a lot of programming also involved. It's a combination, right? Data science and machine learning is a plus. If you have it on your resume, we will ask you about it, but that's not the core requirement for the role. It is something we expect you to know what you have learned very well, right? And then yes, in addition to that, if there is data science or machine learning, yes, that is always beneficial. I just mentioned, right? What are our expectations? Whatever you say you know, you should know it. The criteria for shortlisting would be, we will do an initial round based on CGPA, and then it will be based on the aptitude test. Yeah, I think we have a few more minutes for any more questions that may be there. I again strongly encourage all to Google some of the terms that I mentioned. It will give you a good idea of what we do. Um, so
Sir, SQL databases, and one more thing you asked for.
object oriented.
Object oriented. Okay, sir. Done.
How many working days are there? So officially we do 5 days a week. We are getting into a hybrid culture. So currently we are 100% working from home. From 1st July, our office is starting again. So the New York office has started with a hybrid culture of 3 days a week. The Mumbai office will start from 1st July. Again, it's um, hybrid culture, 3 days a week, 2 days from home. I think if the question is related to moving to Mumbai, I think that is something at your age you want to learn and you want to interact with people who are there in the field. So there are a lot of people. In fact, almost all the senior team are all IIT graduates at Versor. There are a lot of experienced people. We have a lot of PhDs who have come from very interesting backgrounds. And if you are not interacting with them, if you are not talking to them, then you will not get the exposure that you really want. So we would like you to move to Mumbai. I personally feel that at your age you want to maximize the interactions. So that's why we have kept a hybrid culture. That at least 3 days let's be in office so that so those interactions are there. Yes, there will be a coding round as part of the aptitude test, and then you may also be asked coding questions in the technical interviews.
Sir, one more doubt. Suppose if we give an interview and we get selected, in Mumbai there is a high rent and everything. So is there any support from the company for this thing?
It's part of your CTC. So your
Okay.
CTC will have a fixed component, there will be a relocation component, and there will be a bonus.
Okay. Okay, then, sir.
When is Versor coming for actual placement? So the entire interview process is going to be online. We would not be visiting the campus. And I think we are ready to start when you are ready to start. So we can literally start immediately.
Sir, Sir, from placement cell, we are ready to do any day in this weekend.
Okay. No, that is great. So that
If
is
you want to do a test today or tomorrow, we are ready. Even you can immediately start their interview also online mode.
yeah. So Bimla will sort of coordinate the process there, and so we will. I'll leave it to her to discuss and finalize the specifics with you. But essentially, we will try and finish it say over the next 10 to 15 days.
Okay, sir. Uh, just to inform that we are starting campus recruitment of other company from this weekend. It is physical mode, but as yours is online, so we are okay with it. But
Okay.
if you
Yeah. So
first to complete as early as possible, it will reduce the confusion between the various options in campus recruitment.
absolutely, I think that makes sense. So
Yeah, Neerav, I am going to discuss it with Ashwin and we'll just sort it out this at the earliest. We can take it.
yeah, so let's get that done, right? So if they are
Yes,
okay, we can do the test immediately in the next 2 3 days,
yes,
in 2 days, and then do the interview rounds immediately after that.
yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other question from students or any faculty coordinator? Divyang, if you have to say something.
No, sir, I think everything is covered and sir has given complete idea and brief detailed information to the students. So thank you, Nirav sir and Bimla madam for bringing this us and all the students who has joined us today. We'll be let you know the further process once we decide with the Bimla madam.
So, special thanks to our student Apeksha Kansara, who bring the notice of your company, who provide the very technical data engineering exposures to the freshers. So very happy to like having a relation with you. Thank you very much for considering our institute.
So thank you very much for having us there. And Apeksha is a very core part of our team, and we are very excited. I'm very excited to see so many students join the call, and we do hope that we are able to sort of continue the relationship. We can have a lot of people, students joining us, and it's a rewarding experience for each one of them.
Yeah, please try to make a visit of our campus. We have good state-of-art infrastructure, especially Center of Excellence of AI and Machine Learning. Recently, we have developed.
Yeah, no, definitely we would do that. I think this time it was a shorter notice, so we were not able to visit. But definitely, we will try at the next available opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
thank you, everybody. Have a great
Thank
day.
you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.